Today we're going to try and fix the odometer in this old car. This is my Mercedes W124. It's a 1990 300e 2.6 and I bought it sight unseen from an auction. You can see more of those shenanigans up here. And in that video I went through the car and I looked at everything that was wrong. One of those things that wasn't working was the odometer. So I'm going to pull the dash and see if I can get it fixed. This particular odometer, it doesn't work, but it kind of does work, which I think is a good sign. So what it does is it very slowly goes up to sort of 9.9 and then stops there, which tells me that the cogs aren't broken, like the mechanism's still working, there's just something slipping inside. And so as it tries to turn over that 10 kilometer mark, it doesn't quite have enough torque. Now, removing the dash, it doesn't have to be a complicated exercise. I know you can get special Mercedes tools, of course you can, that go down the side here and like they have a T-handle and you can pull out the dash. You can make your own out of coat hangers. I personally don't want to poke anything down here because it's such a nice tight fit and I don't want to risk damaging anything or snapping any of the plastic, which is starting to get brittle now. It's 35 years old. So the easiest way to do it is just put your hands on the dash and wiggle it out. Done. So that's my method. I hope that helps somebody. Now what we have to do is disconnect all the stuff in behind and we can take the dash out of the car and have a look at the odometer mechanism. I don't have an adjustable steering column. If you do, you can adjust it further back out of the way, obviously. But I think there's enough room for me to get my hand in there and access all of this stuff. We just unscrew the coupling for the speedo cable. That comes off easily. Now we just have a few more wires to disconnect. Okay, that's all the connectors. Should be free to just come out. This is what's left behind. Everything just fits into one spot on the back of the dash, so you don't have to worry too much about trying to remember where everything goes. The only thing is these ones here are numbered and they'll match the corresponding number on the back of the binnacle here. So we've got a 5 and a 4 and that's the 2 I've got here. So too easy. Thanks Mercedes. Some people take this opportunity while they have the dash binnacle apart to replace all the bulbs with LED bulbs. I am not going to do that because I think it looks bad. I much prefer the original look of the old incandescent bulbs. What I am going to do though is just check they'll work, because there might be a blown bulb that I haven't picked up. I think they'll work, but they might not. And this one here on this side tends to not shine when you first start it. You've got to hit the top of the binnacle to turn that side of the illumination on. So I'm just going to clean the contacts on these bulbs while I've got access to the back of it. So that's that bulb there. And I'll just bend these contacts down slightly as well, just so they make better contact on the contact pad. Okay, that's great. All the bulbs are working fine, they've all tested good. So let's pull the odometer out and let's see if we can get that fixed. This is the temperature display which goes into the bottom of the binnacle here. Now mine doesn't work and well, I don't know if it's the sender or this unit here. It just says minus 38 degrees and then turns off. So whether there's a way I can test this, I'm not sure, but I'll just put this aside for now. So we just have to take the knob off the rheostat / reset button. Okay, so here we have it. It's still connected by wire to the other side there. I'm just going to leave that connected for now, because what I believe we have to do is actually take the speedo needle off. Okay, so I've made a mark just underneath, and then I'll know where it wants to go back to. Ooh, that was a bit nerve-wracking. It's just a pressure fit. Yeah, you just pull it off. Next step is to take this plate off. So I'll just go carefully so I don't scratch any of the lovely black paint. Plates off. Right, we can see the mechanism we've got to get to. There's 4 screws on the back just near where the odometer cable comes in. So it's just jamming up a little bit on this little bit of plastic housing on the plug. It's just hitting that other part of the shroud, so I'm just trying to work that around. Okay, so we'll resort to drastic measures, and I'll just trim that plastic out of the way. That's better. Great, so here we have the unit, and we can start to see in the sides here, look at the cogs and things, and they all look okay. They even look fairly greasy, which is a good sign. So let's have a look and see why they're not turning the mechanism. Now this is the reset lever. If I push that up the other way, it resets back to 0. And then if we go, we can see it doing its thing quite happily. So I'm pretty confident there's nothing wrong with the actual mechanism, other than I think what is happening is the metal shaft somewhere in here is slipping on the cog when it encounters just enough resistance to turn over 2 cogs at the same time. So if we go all the way to 9, and here I'm putting extra K's on my car here, that's no good, is it? So if we go 8, 9.9, now there's just a bit more resistance because it has to push 3 wheels at the same time, and it's not super happy about it. I think I figured out the issue. So the drive comes in on the green cog here. That worm drive comes in from the speedo, and it turns this green cog whichever way, I think that way. And that green cog turns this metal shaft, which is also turning the other side of the metal shaft, as it should. So if I turn that cog there, and I don't know if you can see that metal shaft turning, but it is definitely turning. However, it should also be turning that grey cog there, and it turns it a little bit until it meets any kind of resistance, and then it stops turning. So if we can go back the other way, it'll click over, no, and this one here gets to 9, and it's got too much resistance to turn that cog over, and it just starts spinning on the shaft. So what we have to do is try and secure this grey cog back to this brass shaft somehow. I have come to the disappointing conclusion that I do have to take this spring off. Now I think the spring is actually at its neutral tension, because the needle, if you remember, it kind of it came down to a certain point, and then if I pushed it back, it came back to that point. So the spring's kind of holding that shaft at neutral tension. So that means it shouldn't just ping out of the out of the holder and never be seen again, hopefully, and we should just be able to ease it out of here. Okay, that's off the shaft. Very good. Right, well, we'll leave the spring connected because that's fine. Here we can easily see our little green cog, and we can see that it's struggling to turn our grey one. There is no easy way to fix it. But I think I've got 2 options. So I can't remove the shaft, because if I glue the grey wheel back onto the shaft outside of the housing, I won't be able to get it all back together. I believe that the grey wheel must be a press fit onto the shaft, and then maybe just the lubricant over a long time just starts to get in there, and it doesn't grab hold of that shaft very good anymore. So the 2 options I'm thinking is to drop a bit of adhesive down here, and then while the adhesive is setting, I just move the shaft and the wheel together so that the glue doesn't stick to everything else and stop the whole thing from moving. Or I can try and maybe impact just the little sort of collar of the cog down here. Strike that with something to try and push it back onto the shaft. No. Okay, let's maybe try the glue option. Okay, first of all, I'll spray some alcohol down onto the shaft just to clean off any grease, oil. I'm going to pop this intermediate cog out of its holder just so that I can play around with this without it interfering with this one too much while I'm trying to fix it. I'll wedge that in there to hold it apart. Alright, see if it works. Okay. Okay, that feels pretty good, but we're not pushing the other cog, so we don't know for sure. What I'm going to do is just rotate it around and glue the other side of the shaft. Okay, let's put the intermediate cog back in and see if anything has fixed. So let's reset it. If we go backwards from here, we'll have to move 4 cogs at once. It's doing it. I reckon we fixed it. Okay, it's all back together. I've just left this button off here because if I push fit that on, it's going to reset the trip meter, and I don't want to drive 1000 k's before I can see if it can turn 3 numbers at once. It's set up for me just to drive 300 meters and it will turn all 3 numbers, well 4 I guess, including the white one. And if it can do that, then I know it's fixed. Dash is back in. Hopefully everything is working again. I'm just going to start the car and take it for a short drive and we'll see. Well, that doesn't look like it's working at all. Okay, I've pulled back home again because there's something not right about the speedo. It's just sitting up off the stop, so I think there's something not quite working. It's just not, like the cable's turning and behind it, but it's not transferring anything to here, so maybe I put something back together wrong. I'm going to pull it out again and have another look. Well, the speedo works, so maybe I just didn't have it plugged in properly. I can't quite see why it wouldn't, but I do notice that the odometer is not working, so there's still something not quite right. I had to pull it apart. So it's definitely turning, but on the other side, the grey cog is not turning. So it's still slipping on that shaft. I don't think I have fixed it. The other problem also is the speedo doesn't go all the way back down. I wonder if the glue that I put in there has actually glued it to the side. It does feel very stiff. I'm going to have to think of something else. Right, I'm back where I started. You can see that the shaft's turning, but the grey gear is not turning. I have learnt something in all of this, that this grey gear is actually metal. Well, I just fiddled around with it. It seems to be working fine now. What I did is I pushed the metal cog as far this way as I could, and I could feel a bit of resistance there on the shaft, so I kind of held it there while I sort of screwed the shaft to the hardest point of resistance. And now it's kind of stuck on the shaft. Seems to be enough to turn it. I don't know how long term a solution it's going to be, but well, I guess there's only one way to find out. It's not hard to pull it out again. It's slightly annoying, but we'll see. Right, time to get it back together and see if I can get it actually working in the car. Right, time for take 2. I've got the dash back in and everything seems to be connected, so let's take off down the road and see if it works. Okay, we've got something happening. Speedo looks like it is working. I don't know how calibrated it is, but we also have a working odometer. So it's just flicking past, it's on 9999. So let's see if it will turn all 4 digits. There it goes. Looks like it is working. Don't mind that light on the dash. I've turned the headlights on and one of my tail lights is out, so it's just giving me that warning. So I might just go for a bit of a drive at 60 k's an hour and I'll just check the GPS speed and see how far out the speedo is. But for now, it looks like I've got a working odometer, which is fantastic. Well, it seems to be fixed. Everything's working, speedo's working. I calibrated it and it's maybe 2 k's out at 60 and almost bang on at 100. So everything's working. Odometer's working and I'm a happy guy. What an easy fix. Once I've figured it out, yeah, pretty easy fix. So if that's helped you, I hope it has. Stick around for more fix-it jobs on the old W124. Thanks for watching.